Good morning, dear friends. Look, puppy cuddles. Look at my beautiful boy. Lockie is getting so old now, he's losing his hearing, so you have to yell extra loud for him. But when you call his name at a regular volume, he kind of looks left and right, and he's like, where did it come from? Where did it come from? He's still always very happy to come see me, but he just can't always work out where I am. It's Saturday. We're having a little bit of a, I was going to say sleep in, but who have I become? Literally, it's 6:30 in the morning. Me saying we're having a sleep in. It's only been in the past 6 months that I've started waking up early. But like I said in another video, it's because of my medication, like regulating my sleep cycle now. I was in bed at 10 p.m. last night. Old me could never. Old me would be like, it's 3 a.m. and I have to start editing this video that I just finished filming. And I'd be awake until 5 or 6 or whatever. So yeah, our plans for today include doing a bit of stuff in the garden that we have to finish up. And I can't think of what else because it's too early to think. So please enjoy Lockie for a moment. And with that, give me some time and then I'll come back with a to-do list. You know, guys, I realized what my problem is. It's that I tend to wake up in the morning, and when I was lying in bed trying to go to sleep, I would put together a list of what I wanted to do the next day. Then I wake up in the morning and I cannot remember my list. I do tend to write it in my notepad on my phone, but I've been trying to avoid using my phone at night. That's been an enormous difference. That, and Dan and I have started taking, where is it? Do you see that bottle there? Oh, if I wasn't so lazy, I would. No, I'm not lazy. No, I'm not lazy. I just don't like making myself uncomfortable. Okay, right. I'm sorry. I've committed crimes against Skyrim and her people. What have me to say in my defense? I'm sorry, Lockie. I didn't mean to make you move. Back to sleep. Back to sleep, precious dog. Yes, yes. It's illegal to move a sleeping dog. Okay, so I went on iHerb while I was looking for natural supplements for, you know, ADHD and OCD and stuff like that. Oh, I'm sorry. And a lot of people were suggesting melatonin. And so I got that off iHerb along with a whole bunch of other things. And it says fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, 100% drug-free. It's 10 milligrams, vegetarian, time-release capsules. It says it's a 2-layer tablet. The outer layer releases melatonin quickly to help you fall asleep faster, followed by the controlled release of an inner layer to help you sleep throughout the night. It's got vitamin B6 that helps support the body's natural production of melatonin, helps establish normal sleep patterns, and 100% drug-free, non-habit forming. So since I started the OCD medication, which is a serotonin type medication, and serotonin converts to melatonin, when I started the melatonin at the same time as the serotonin, not that the OCD medication provides you with serotonin, it helps your body to naturally produce or regulate the excrement of it, or whatever it is. Anyway, when I combined the two, I started being able to fall asleep. And because I used to, if I've tried to go to sleep at a normal hour, I would just lie awake, just like head racing, a million thoughts, thinking about all these things that I'd do the next day, or I'd think back about things that I'd done that day that I was unhappy with, or things that I'd said 4 years ago to someone and I wished that I'd said it in a different way. You know, my head would just be racing and I wouldn't sleep for hours. But taking the melatonin, I don't take it every night. I took it every night for a week, which put me in a proper schedule. And now I just take it occasionally. So last night we were up kind of late watching Rings of Power. So I find I've discovered about myself that if I look at bright lights, if I look at my phone or if I watch a show or something and then I go straight to bed, I don't have a good sleep. I can track my sleep with my Fitbit, and every time without fail that I've either got into bed and all the lights are off and I've looked at my phone, or we've watched a show and then gone to bed, I never have as good a sleep score. And that's because when you're looking at the lights, it's sort of, it affects the production of the melatonin, which is what tells your body naturally to go to sleep. So nights like that, I'll take a melatonin, which then, so I did that last night. We were up kind of late. Grace came over. We were watching Rings of Power. We're up to we just finished the 6. Yes. So we're up to date. And also, I kind of take back what I said. If you guys saw my Instagram story a little while ago, I was like, I was saying between House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, I think that I'm liking Rings of Power more. But actually, since the latest episode of House of the Dragon, where they aged up, House of the Dragon is now by far all the sins of season 8 of Game of Thrones forgotten. I have a new favorite show now. But Rings of Power is still great. But I kind of feel like Rings of Power is more flexing that Bezos budget, whereas House of the Dragon is more George R.R. Martin saying, "You're fucked up. I'm going to fix this." And he's taking his mega mind and he's fixing it. Why am I talking about this? We watched it last night with Grace, and so I took a melatonin last night and I was asleep within half an hour. Quick heads up, I learnt this from the reviews of the melatonin product on iHerb. The first couple of times you take it, it will hit you like a ton of bricks, and it'll be kind of harder to wake up in the morning until you get used to it. So Dan and I both, the first time we took it, no, what are you talking about? We were both in bed and we were like, so tired. But we slept really well. We got good sleep scores and everything. But it just took us longer to wake up than usual. So there was a tip on an iHerb review that said if you take it at the same time as taking magnesium, it actually helps to wake up easier. And I tried that and it did work. So if you're going to buy melatonin and try it, maybe try taking it with magnesium. But the way that it makes you feel the first couple of times you take it, it doesn't last. It's just kind of while your body is getting into a proper sleep schedule. But it's really changed my life, the sleep schedule thing. You know, you think when you get a diagnosis and you get put on medication that the medication is going to fix everything. Really, no. The medication gives you a pathway to be able to fix things, but actually you got to look at your life and your diet, your sleep habits, all sorts of things, the people that you surround yourself with and everything. It's like think of your body like an ecosystem, and everything has to be working in perfect symbiosis, and if it doesn't, adding meds is not going to complete the circle. Adding meds is just going to help fill in one part of it. But I sound like I'm a professor from Jurassic Park. Oh, I got a haircut yesterday. Basically, my hairdresser is helping me because eventually I want a bob. So it looks kind of silly now because I just washed it and left it. So this is my natural curl. There's no curl products. There's literally no curl cream or anything. This is just some conditioner washed out and then it's naturally curling like this. But she's given me a tiny little bit of a fringe, which when she did it and she used a rounded brush and she blow dried it out, it looked adorable. It'll never look as good as it does on the day that the hairdresser does it. And then at the back, she's taken some off the back because as it's growing longer, the back, obviously around the nape of the neck, grows longer. And what's up here is only kind of sitting here. So you end up with a bit of a mullet kind of thing. So she's just helping me to every couple of weeks, we're just trimming it a little bit so that it eventually grows into a nice bob. So I turned on the camera to say that I realized that my problem is because I haven't been looking at my phone before I go to sleep at night, because looking at my phone stops me sleeping well. So my rules are that once I walk into the bedroom, the phone goes over on the charger and then I just get in bed. Because of that, what was my point? Fuck. I haven't been writing lists. Typically when I'm lying in bed, lying awake, and I'm thinking about all the things I want to do tomorrow, I pull out my phone and I write a list. But by looking at my phone, I am disrupting my body's sleep schedule. So I have not been writing my lists on my phone. So I did start keeping a notepad by the bed. However, pencils are a mysterious enigma. I'm not really sure what planet they come from, but they seem to go back to their home world once you capture them. If you capture a pencil in your house, you either got to put a leash on it or a tracking device on it, because otherwise it just blips off into the whatever planet pencils come from. They just vanish. I don't know, into thin air. Honestly, my notepad was over there yesterday, and I was like, cool, there's my notepad and my pencil. And I looked away and I looked back and pencil was gone. I was like, damn it, it escaped. Can't find it now. So I didn't write a list. Disclaimer, I don't actually believe pencils come from another planet. Please don't say I'm losing my mind. I didn't write a list for today. So now I'm lying here trying to remember my list. But then I thought to myself, well, hang on, I should have a permanent list, right? Like you've got your list of the things that are different every day or different every week, depending on what you're up to that weekend. But there is a list of things if you're trying to get into a good morning routine or whatever. There's a list of things that you should do every morning. So I think I might write it somewhere and I might put it up on the wall there. So for example, it's like, okay, every morning I should be waking up and brushing my teeth. I know, how bizarre indeed. This is going a lifetime without brushing teeth. Actually, someone asked me, Alex, what do you do about the dentist? Avoid at all costs. So brush teeth in the morning, put on deodorant, shower maybe, depending on if someone, bird or husband, tells me to, and skincare. I really have to get back into the skincare thing, and I should be doing that every day. Feed the chickens, feed the birds, feed the dogs, feed Archie. Well, he's a bird, I suppose, but I don't think of him as a bird. And then what Dan and I used to do, Dan, why did we stop doing this? La Nina, that's why. Every morning last year, Dan and I used to do what we called a garden walk. And Dan leaves for work very early in the morning. And back before I started to regulate all of my sleep and before the ADD medication was working properly, I used to be completely dependent on caffeine. I couldn't get out of bed without a coffee. So Dan would wake up, he'd go downstairs and make us both a cup of coffee, and we'd hold each other's hands and we'd walk through our garden, and we would look every morning at the garden and we'd see, oh, look, the fig tree has a new leaf, or look at the flowers, look at the marigolds, they're bigger, or oh no, the dog has taken a giant dump on the mint. It's not chocolate mint anymore, it's something else entirely. So why did we stop doing our morning garden walks? It was because of the weather, wasn't it? La Nina.
No, you started taking your medication, you couldn't get up.
Oh, he's right. When I started the OCD medication and I didn't know about the interaction with the caffeine and I was bedridden for a very long time. Yeah, you're right. I couldn't wake up in the morning. So if you're going to try and follow a morning schedule along with me during this, I was about to say 100-day series, but hang on, today's day 15. Is it? Yeah, I think today's day 15 or even day 16. I don't remember, but it's now no longer 100 days. It's like 80 something. But if you're going to follow along with me to try to get yourself into a good routine, obviously swap out, in the parts where I'm talking about feeding animals or something, feed yourself. And if you don't have a garden, if there's something that you can tend to that is not yourself, if you don't have pets, maybe plants or something, like a lot of the time for those of us that don't care about ourselves, we have to have something else to care for or care about. So maybe buy a plant and tell yourself that you can't let that plant die. I'll tell you what great motivation. Millie and Tiasha, the year that I got into indoor plants, it was my birthday, must have been my birthday in 2020, or was it 2019? I can't remember. They came over, I had no indoor house plants, and they bought me a Monstera Addisonii, which is it's the leaves on a vine, and the leaves have little holes in them. And Tiasha said to me, "Alex, don't let this plant die." And I just remember thinking, I was like, Roger that, why? Is it really rare or something? But no, it's not a rare plant. She just wanted to put the responsibility on me to make sure that I cared for it. Millie gave me a polka dot plant, which is the one that I showed you guys in the turtle terrarium that was literally, it died and it only had one leaf left, and I resurrected it from the dead. So because my friends gave me those plants, and when they come over, I really like to be able to say to them, "Look, I didn't kill the plant. Look, it's still alive. It's been a few years. This is the plant you gave me." I have that responsibility for those particular plants. I've killed plenty of indoor house plants, plenty. But those ones, because Millie and Tiasha, they said, "Don't let this plant die," I felt responsible for it. So perhaps if you are struggling to get in a routine and take care of yourself, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have friends, or you don't have a relationship with your family, or, you're isolated. Maybe if there's no one to give you something or tell you something to get you out of bed to care for, I'm going to ask you if you can go out and if you can buy something, buy a plant, or if you're in a situation where you can, maybe a pet or something. I'm not encouraging people to just go buy pets willy-nilly, but pets are great for mental health. And if you live somewhere, maybe the apartment that you're in might not let you have dogs or cats, but you could get a finch. I used to breed finches when I was a kid. Finches are delightful. They're, the tiny, tiny little birds. You can get them for $10 at pet stores. I had mannequin finches, Gildian finches, zebra finches, star finches, finches I don't remember the name of because I was only 8 years old. But finches, this is the thing with pets. If you can't commit to a pet, but you want one, getting one that you can give a good life to, but they don't have a very long lifespan, like finches. Finches, I think they can live 8 to 10 years if they're cared for properly, but a lot of the time finches die after 5, from what I've heard. Mine lived, pardon?
Thunderstorms.
Oh my God, Gildian finches, don't get a Gildian finch. If there's a thunderstorm and a clap of lightning, they have a heart attack and they die. If you ever see Sam and I go like this, it's just a running joke among my family that Gildian finches are the most beautiful. If you want to look them up, Guildian, Gildian finch. They are the most beautiful rainbow finches, and if you get them when they're young, you can train them so that they will fly around and be with you. When I worked at a cafe as a barista, a lady came up to the counter. I was like, this lady is gold. She looked like she had the same hair as the crazy cat lady from The Simpsons, and there were birds in her hair. There were finches. She was like a Disney princess. No, she was like Radagast the Brown from Lord of the Rings, from The Hobbit, sorry. She had grey hair and it was a bit of a mess, and there were little finches everywhere and they were circling her head. And she came up to the counter to order and I was like, oh my God! And she had one budgie came out of her hair and the rest were finches, and then a canary 2 seconds later appeared because it had been flying along behind her but hadn't caught up yet. And I was just enthralled. I was asking her questions about her birds and everything, and my boss came up and said to her, "Excuse me, ma'am, you're going to have to leave." And by the way, this was a cafe in an arcade, so it was just like a hole in the wall. You order a coffee and you go kind of thing. It wasn't even her cafe space to tell someone to leave from. It was just her counter. But she was like, I'm sorry, ma'am, you're going to have to go. Your disgusting birds cannot be in this building. I quit very shortly after that. I could not work for that woman. She was racist and she was really mean. And anyway, why am I talking about that? Finches. Finches are what I consider to be a non-incidental pet, as mean as that sounds. I'm not trying to say it in a mean or cruel way, but I mean, if you get a Neglectus parrot, they can live for 60 years. Don't get a Neglectus parrot lightly. I would say little birds like finches and things, that it gives you a purpose, and if you're like me and you find great peace in just looking at birds or just looking at a pet, it's so calming for me to just go sit and watch my chickens, or just sit and look at Dumpling preening himself. Get a pigeon. There's plenty of pigeons that are in desperate need of adoption everywhere, because people think pigeons are gross and disgusting, and also people race pigeons, and pigeons often get lost during their flight home from the flock. They might get separated and they end up in a shelter. People know that it's someone's pigeon because it's got a leg band, like an ID tag. But the owners, some people that have racing flocks, they have like 500 pigeons, and if a couple go missing, they don't go looking for them. They're just like, okay, whatever. So there's plenty of pigeons that are in need of rehoming, and if something happens to the pigeon, if it escapes or whatever, it's like, okay, well, a pigeon is not a parrot. And I'm not saying just go get a pigeon and then just treat it like shit. But what I'm trying to say very specifically is, look at your life and look at your situation. And if there is room for an animal, get one, if you like animals, get one that is lower commitment, might not live as long, but it gives you a reason to get up and do something. It gives you a responsibility. The amount of times I've just lay in this bed not wanting to get up for the rest of my life, and I've heard the chickens squawking at me, or I've heard Archie screeching, and I've gone, I have to get out of bed. Not for me, but for them. With that being said, don't get a fish. Michelle has fish. My God, fish are so fucking ridiculous. I always thought, oh, you get a fish and you stick it in a bowl of water and then you feed it flakes. Oh, no. You need a filter, an air pump. You need to check the pH. You need to check the nitrates and the I don't know, the algae and the pH levels and the calcium levels, and you need to do water changes. And Michelle works so hard to keep her fish going, and she's constantly checking things, and she's like, the coolie loaches need a new tank because the coolie loaches need a higher calcium level than the corridoras. Or she's like, oh no, the tetras are unwell, we've got to isolate them because they'll get the plecos sick. Or the plecos need a lower water temperature than the betta fish, so the betta fish has to be at 28 degrees Celsius because they're tropical fish, and they need a lower water pressure. Like, you get these wave maker things that upset the water so that the fish have something to sort of swim against, but the betta fish needs less of that than the guppies. I don't know. Fish are complicated. There's a reason why when people buy a goldfish and put it in a bowl, it dies, because they don't have filters and they don't check the water levels. Don't get a fish. Let me just say that. That's why I recommend a little bird, like a finch or something. Or if you can commit to it, adopt a pigeon. Anyway, the whole point of that is that when I'm building my morning schedule, I'm saying getting out of bed to brush teeth, have shower, change my clothes, things like that, and then feed the pets and all. And if you don't have pets, if you wanted to get a pet, I could give you some advice in the comments below to help direct you in the, toward the right one. Or if you can't commit to a pet, get a plant, and just know that I am telling you, you have to let that plant live. You have to keep that plant alive. If you take a picture of it and you send it to me on Instagram or something, and you tell me, hey Alex, I went out today and I bought this plant. Right, so I was saying, if you go out and get a plant, and you send me a picture on Instagram, but then it occurred to me, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram from people that, you know, don't watch this channel, just from people all over. And I really want a way that I can directly communicate with you guys. I was thinking maybe Discord or something. I've only used Discord once, and that was because we got this game called Jukebox Games, and we had it on Steam, and then we were all talking to each other on Discord while we were playing the game. And I was just like, why are we on Discord and not Facebook Messenger? Why would I download an entire platform just to talk to the friends that I'm friends with on Facebook? Dan, can you enlighten us? Why do people use Discord to talk instead of just using Facebook Messenger?
Because you can do things like you can press to talk.
I was thinking maybe we could do a Discord, because then that way we can post images and we can get to know each other. I'm getting to know people's names on this channel. Larietta Darling, that's your username. I see every single one of your comments. I don't get around to replying to all of them because when it comes to replying to people's comments, I have this attitude of like, it's all or nothing. Like I read the comments, I read all of them, but I don't have... Do you ever say, I don't have time for that, but then stop and think, well, what else am I doing? I guess theoretically I do have time. I guess I don't have the mental capacity to reply to everyone, but I read what everyone says. And Larietta, I read all of your comments. I always recognize your profile picture and I always know it's you. And you've been on my main channel leaving comments on every single video. You leave comments on all of these videos. You are one of the people that I see and you motivate me to keep going because you've always got something positive to say. Even when I feel really shitty about the video that I've just uploaded and I think, oh, that was really boring, people aren't going to like that. You always come along and you say something so nice. You find positive things in everything. It's amazing. And sometimes people leave comments and they say, I don't have friends, you know, and watching these videos with you, you feel like my friend. And I know what that's like to not have friends. I know you guys see me with friends, and sometimes I find it so crazy to think of how many friends I have now, because when I was in school, I had no one. I had a friend I made when I was in the first grade, so I must have been like 5 years old. And I had to move schools after a couple of years because I got so badly bullied. So I left her behind, but we were still friends. My parents would take me to see her on the weekend and things like that. But I moved to a new school and I didn't make a single friend, not one. And then I moved to another school because when I was at that school, I got beaten up so badly. God, I'll do a video about all of that because it kind of sets me off. I have complex PTSD from my time in school, but we'll talk about that in a different video. But anyway, point being, I didn't really have friends. I ended up with one or two. You know, if you're in school right now, do you have a group of people you sit with, right? And you go, they're my friends. And if you were going to have a birthday party, you'd say, Mom, Dad, can I invite my friends to my birthday party? And you say, oh, there's 16 people or something, because you sit with those people at lunch. But stop and think, there's a difference between friends, real friends, and people you hang out with. There is a difference. So it wasn't until I was in year 8, so I guess that's 2007, and I started school I think it was in kindy in 1999. Yeah, it wasn't until I was in year 8 at school that I had a group that I sat with, and I used to be like, I've got so many friends. And then guess what? When school finished, I never heard from hardly any of them again. I'm talking about, so Sam, sometimes...
Never heard from him again.
Sam was in my group, and Jaden, you guys, if you watched my video about the dog jumpers from Yes Style, you would have met my friend Sam and my friend Jaden. He's the one that he's got the toy poodles, and he was in our group. Sam and Jaden and Tiasha. I met Tiasha when I was in grade 3, and Caitlin I met in year 9, and she was sort of in my group, but we didn't actually become friends until a couple of years out of university. Caitlin and I, we sat together in the playground, but she was closer friends with Yinny. Some of you know who Yinny is. Hello Yinny is her YouTube channel. Caitlin and Yinny were really good friends, but it wasn't until after school that Caitlin and I became really close. But this group that we had, there was like 24 people that we sat with at lunch. And I was like, I am so popular. I have so many friends. Because, we'd sit together and we'd eat and talk. But school finished, and I walked past one of these girls a year out of school. I walked past her at the local shops. Sam and I walked past her, and I waved at her, and she looked at me, and then she looked away. And then suddenly she noticed Sam beside me. And then she went, "Oh, hi, Sam." And she came up and started talking to Sam. And then she said hello to me, and then chatted to Sam for a minute, and then they left. And then she left, and I was like, "Sam, what the hell?" And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "That was so weird." There was 5 girls that I was really close with. And when I say close with, I mean the really wealthy one used to have us over to her house for a sleepover because she had her own granny flat thing, and all the girls could pile in there and sleep, and we would just go there and watch a movie and talk about boys. And I thought that they were my friends. And then when school finished and I tried to arrange to hang out with them and see them, none of them ever saw each other again. So you can have a big group of people, but they aren't necessarily friends. Friends are the real ones, like you finish school, and even though you're no longer forced to be in the same place together for 12 hours a day, you stay in touch, and that person contacts you on their own accord. You're not the one that's always contacting them. I really highly recommend that you take a step back and you look at the people in your life and you think, who is it that I always have to message them? Or who only contacts me when they want something? So for example, I had this friend from school who I thought, even out of school, we kept hanging out. But then one day it occurred to me after the 10th time in a row that she called me to do something because she needed a lift to go do something that she wanted to do. And she knew my parents, my father, quite literally the most generous man in the world. Dad will do anything for me. And if I say, "Oh, Dad, could you please drive me to this place?" no matter what he's doing, he'll drive me there. And this girl knew that my dad would drive me everywhere, and she would have something she wanted to do. If she wanted to go shopping, and she'd say to her mum, "Can you take me to the shops?" No. So then she'd call me and go, "Hi, do you want to hang out? Cool, can you pick me up?" And I was always like, "Oh yeah, it's because we're friends." But then one day it dawned on me. I was like, I think she's only hanging out with me because my dad gives her a lift to the things that she wants to do. And anyway, so then when I would stop going and, she'd call and say, "Let's go to the shops." And I'd say, "Oh, I can't today." But then I'd say, "Would you like to come over to my place and we can hang out?" "Oh no, I'm busy." So whenever it was me trying to do something friend-wise, I'd say, "Well, do you want to go on a picnic, or can we go to the beach?" It was always no. And then I realized the only time that we ever hang out is when she has something she wants to do. So she calls upon me. And you step back and you look at people that you think are friends, and you're like, does this friendship mean anything? The friends that I have now, I'm 29, I just turned 29 this year, and the friends that you see in my videos are people that I've known for a very long time that after years and years of essentially culling friendships, I suppose you'd call it, or just naturally letting things, dissipate. If you're thinking about someone and you want to message them, but you realize they haven't contacted you in a year, some people have their own problems and they find it very hard to reach out. And I've found it over the years easier and easier to distinguish who is not reaching out because they are the sort of person that needs someone to contact them versus who is not reaching out because they literally don't care. You when you get to be our age, because I know there's people that are 16 that watch me. So like in 10 years time, if you don't have very many friends now, or if you have no friends now, just know that you're not always going to be like that. You will meet people. You might meet them in weird and unusual ways. I have a friend who I met when I worked as a barista, and I never expected us to stay friends, but to this day, when we worked at the cafe together, we just clicked really well, and we saw each other every day at work. And then when I left that job, she left that job, we were friends on Facebook, and we put in some effort to see each other. And we only see each other once a year, but we comment on each other's, photos, and we, encourage each other online and stuff. And when we do actually see each other in person, it's like nothing has changed. And it's not that we haven't seen each other out of any, not wanting to see each other. It's just we both have our own lives and we're doing our own things. But if she contacts me or if I contact her, we will make time to see each other. But you'll have those friends where you sit back and you go, oh, I haven't spoken to so-and-so in a year or two, and you contact them and maybe you catch up and it just doesn't feel the same, or, you're putting in the effort and they're not, but that's because they've got a new group of friends and maybe they're into drugs or something and you're not. That's something that was a huge friendship cull for me. I have never in my life done any sort of recreational things like that. I don't want to. And there came a point, I think when I was 21 or something, and there was this group of people that I spent time with that I used to call my friends, but I realized that this group of people only ever came together when they wanted to party with these recreational things, and they'd offer it to me and I'd go, no thank you, and they'd go, why? Well, I just don't want to. Come on, try it. I'm like, I don't want to. And then they would stop inviting me to things because they thought I was boring or a loser or whatever because I wasn't participating. I don't need a reason. I just don't want to. And there's friends of mine that partake in those things that they're like, hey, you got to respect the fact that Alex doesn't want to do this. And when I'm around, they don't do that. But the people that would invite me to things and they were doing that stuff in front of me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go spend time with these people that aren't doing that. And those people were judging us for not doing it. And I was like, I don't need these people in my life. Like, if you're going to judge me for just being me and not wanting to do those things.
And respect that.
And you don't respect that.
You respect them choosing to do so.
Yeah.
Why can't they respect you not choosing to do so?
Yeah. I'm not charging over to that circle and, telling them, well, hey, this is a gateway and this is going to lead to this and that and you should put that down. And I'm just like, look, you've chosen to do that. I'm choosing not to. Leave me the fuck alone. Don't try to push it on me. So I quickly, no longer had those people as friends. And like I said, there are some people that I know that do things, but they never do it around me. They don't talk about it around me. They fully respect me, and it's taken years to get to a point where I have narrowed down this group of people. I didn't always have these people. Someone left a comment. I wonder if I've been screenshotting people's comments because my idea was that every day I would sit down and reply to comments, but I have now got so many comments screenshotted that I don't remember which one it is. But someone left a comment and said, Alex, can you please give us tips on how to make friends. You have so many friends. How did you do that? Let me give you a little story time just about my friends, because you've met all of my friends, or you've at least seen them on camera. And if you don't know them by name, that's okay. If you haven't been watching long enough, or if you don't remember their names, that's fine. But I'll just say them by name, so you get an idea. So basically, I finished school, and Sam and I were friends, and Sam and I started dating. And then when Sam and I broke up, we stayed best friends. That is and will forever be one of my happiest and proudest, not achievements, but just, moments in my life where we were able to stay friends. Because I've always said, if you loved someone in a relationship, why would you just completely cut them off because you're not dating anymore? So we stayed best of friends, and Sam and I, for a while there, it was basically just Sam and I. And at the time, we worked at a cafe. I got Sam a job at this cafe that I used to go to regularly. So when Sam and I were dating, I really wanted to go on a trip to Japan. Oh my God, this is... Every time I tell people these stories, I'm like, wait, hang on. In order for that to make sense, I've got to go back to here. And in order for this to make sense, I've got to go back to here. Guys, this is going to be a really long video. I'm just going to talk to you this morning and then unbox a parcel at the end, and I'm just going to upload it. And I'm going to film the rest of our day later and upload that tomorrow, because now that I'm talking about this, I really want to talk about it. When I was in high school, I studied Japanese, but not enough kids at school wanted to study Japanese, so they cancelled it from the courses available, the language courses. Everyone wanted to do French, and so they didn't offer Japanese. Daniel, I'm recording.
Yeah, edit.
I don't edit these videos.
Ah,
Did you guys just hear Daniel fart?
that was Lockie.
Shame him.
Lockie.
Shame. Ding. Shame. Ding.
I'm in my own bed.
Shame. Ding.
I'm in my own bed by myself with the dog.
So they cancelled Japanese as an option, but I still wanted to study it. So they had this program called Open High School, which was basically for any school student that wanted to study a language that wasn't available at their school. They had Open High School, which was a central location that you visited once a semester for an exam. But other than that, they would post you the curriculum and you would listen to the classes on a CD. So I started doing Open High School for Japanese, and when it came to the exam time, all the kids from all over the state would have to go to, I think it was in Randwick. We'd all have to go there to sit a test. So people had to come from far and wide to go to this location to sit the exam, because, you can't sit an exam from home. You got to be supervised. And my parents got a call from a nearby school, the school Daniel went to. And they said, there's a girl whose parents are going to be at work. They work, shift work or whatever, and they can't take her to the exam. Would you be able to pick up this girl? She lives really close to you. Could you pick her up and take her in to sit the exam? And so Dad and Mum, they both came in the car, and she only lived a few streets away. And we picked her up, and I had never met this girl in my life. She got in the back seat, and literally 2 seconds later, oh, so you study Japanese? Yeah. Have you been to Japan? Yeah, I've been there on exchange like 3 times. Oh, and I was like, what? You've been to Japan on exchange? And her school offered that as an option. My school didn't. And so then I said to her, oh, tell me all about it. And I'd been to Japan once with my mum. And so I knew a very small area of Tokyo, and she started telling me about all these things in Tokyo that she liked to do, and how she goes skiing and stuff like that. We were in year 11 at school, so this is 2010. So in 2010 I was 17. Yeah, I was 17. And we literally, the car ride from where we live to where we had to sit the exam, it took forever. It was like 2 hours or something. And we didn't stop talking the whole time. And then we got there early, so my parents took us to a cafe to eat some breakfast, and her and I just chat. We literally didn't stop. And then we sat the exam, and then we added each other on Facebook. And you know, sometimes you meet someone once and you like them and you add them on Facebook, and then you literally never talk again. And then 5 years later, you look through your friends list and you're like, who is this person again? Oh, that's right. I had a lecture with them when I was in my second year of uni and we got on, but then we didn't talk again. I had this situation where I was looking at my friends list and I was trying to remember people. And if I looked at someone's photo and I didn't know who they were, I unfriended them. And I looked at her photo and I was like, she's that nice girl. You know, I really liked her that day. We've never spoken again. I think we used to maybe leave a comment on each other's pictures or something, but we never spoke again. And I was part of an MLM at the time. Shame on me, I had no idea. I literally got conned into an MLM. It was like a skincare one. Someone said on Facebook, do you want to earn $50 an hour? Do you want the potential to earn $300,000 a year? Send me a DM. Oh no, it was like, do you like makeup and skincare and do you want to earn this much money? And I was like, cool, yeah. And then I met up with them. They said, oh, well, come and meet me at this cafe and I'll tell you about it. And then they pulled out this brochure and they were explaining, if you sign up with us, you know, you'll buy this kit that you have to pay for. But then once you have the kit, then we'll do these parties and you'll be able to show people our fantastic products. And then when you sell the products, you get perks and you get bonuses and stuff like that. And I have 3 cars. And I've been doing this for 2 years, and I was like, wow, I think I was 18. I was like, wow, this is sounding cool, and I joined it. And my mum said, how are you liking your makeup job? And I said, it's not what I thought it was. They made me buy a big kit, and I have to go to someone's house every Tuesday night to do a seminar. And Mum was like, Alex, this is a pyramid scheme. And I was like, huh? And then Mum told me what it was, and she was like, you should probably get out of that. That's not a good, she explained the way that all of those things work and explained to me why it's a bad thing. And I did want to get out of it, but by this point, my friend, Mary, does anyone know Mary Cherry? She's a streamer. She does reaction videos on YouTube. Mary and I, we went to the same school, and we weren't friends in school, but we were friends on Facebook. And part of the whole signing up for this makeup job that I thought I was signing up for was I had to make a Facebook post saying the same thing. I had to say, do you want to make $50 an hour talking about makeup and skincare? If so, send me a message. So that was like part of to start, you have to make this Facebook post. So I did that. And then Mary, who we were friends, we knew each other in school, she replied to that. And so then Mary signed up too. And the two of us started going to these things every Tuesday night. And then we both sat back and we were like, hang on a second, are we getting scammed? And we would watch everyone else in the room and they were all so into it. Everyone was so into it. And Mary and I were like, I think that this doesn't make sense. So what you're saying is I've got to spend $300 to get all of these products. Then I have to make posts on Facebook asking people if they want me to do their makeup for free. So then I go and do their makeup for free. But then the whole time that I'm doing their makeup, I'm talking about these products. And then when I go to leave, they feel really guilty because I've done this for free. So they feel like they want to spend some money. So then they buy a lipstick or something. And then when I've made a certain amount of money, the person that signed me up gets a bonus of a certain amount of money. And then I'm supposed to sign people up because every person I sign up, I make money. And Mary and I were like, something isn't right here. But we really liked the free food at the conferences. So we kept going for a little while because it was actually quite interesting to learn. They didn't teach proper techniques, I wouldn't say, but I did actually get to, put makeup on people's faces, and they taught us about how to do a facial and stuff. So I thought I'll just hang around as part of this and learn what I can. So at the time, Had I been medicated, I would have been able to pay attention and retain the information that they taught me, because they'd be like, all right, we're going to start off with this serum or whatever, and we're going to do it in this way, and we're going to push this way because this pushes the, you know, the fluid and stuff, and then we're going to apply pressure here, and, you know, we're going to exfoliate, do this and that. I could never retain the information that they taught me. I would always just have to look at the piece of paper that had it written down. And I did it for a couple of months, going to these seminars to learn about the skincare and everything. And then there came a point where the guy that was the one that had signed us all up, well, he wasn't the one that signed us up. I found out about it because a Facebook friend of mine from uni made the post initially saying, do you want to make $50 an hour, yada, yada. And when I said yes to her, she said, okay, meet me at this cafe and my boss will interview you. So this is why I thought it was a real job, because I went to a cafe and I sat what I thought was an interview. It wasn't an interview. It was literally this person, the girl I knew from uni, and this person I didn't know, who I thought was her manager, who was actually just the person that signed her up. So then he'd signed her and then she signed me. So then she got some money and he got money. So that guy, a couple of months in, says to me, Alex, you haven't sold a single thing and you haven't signed a single person up. And I was like, and he was like, well, that's not how this works. You can't just get the kit with the skincare and the makeup and then not sell anything or sign people up. You have to sign people up. And I was like, well, thanks, bye. Like, the moment that he caught me out, I was like, I'm off. I'll take all my newly learnt skincare skills and run away. So then, while I was doing that, we had this, there was criteria that you had to meet. So it was like, in a month, you must give out 10 facials and you must sell X amount worth of products or something like that. And look, time to be real. Hang on. Sorry, do you have Be Real? Be Real is kind of what motivated me to do daily vlogging, because I realized I don't have to dress up or do anything. I can just pull out the camera and just be real. Anyway, so you had to meet a certain amount of things. So one of them was, in 1 month, you must give out this many facials. And so I made a post on Facebook and I said, hey, I'm practicing skincare. Would anyone like a free facial? And this girl that I'd met once at the high school language course replied, and she was like, hey, Alex, it's been years. I would love that. You know, we just live down the road from each other. I can't believe we've never seen each other ever since that day. Come over and, you know, do the facial. So I set up in her kitchen and I was laughing with her about the fact that I was like, I'm supposed to be selling you this stuff. And she was like, I'm not going to buy anything. And I was like, ha, no. And I couldn't even remember the order to do the facial in because I literally wasn't paying attention. ADD brain, undiagnosed ADHD brain, in one ear, out the other. I couldn't even remember. I was like, I think I'm supposed to do this thing first. No, that's not right. And I would wipe it off. And anyway, we just got to the point where obviously I'm supposed to be giving this facial and talking about the benefits of this product are that it's very high in vitamin C and it'll help to control the fine lines on your face and diminish the blemishes. Nah, we're talking about Japan, of course. And she says, hey, I'm going to Japan with my boyfriend and some friends from school at the start of next year. Do you want to come? And I was like, do I know any of these friends? And she said, I think that there's one that you know. She used to be at your school, but she's now at my school. And I said, what's her name? Literally turned out she was a girl from my group of friends. She was one of my friends. So this friend of mine at school, she moved schools because the school that her parents wanted her to go to a school that did better. The school that I was at didn't get very good grades. So they wanted her to graduate from a school that was a better school. So she moved schools and I'd stayed in touch with her, but I didn't know anything about her friends or anything like that. And so I had no idea that she knew this girl. It was the craziest coincidence. She told me her name. I'm giving this Japanese, language student a facial. And she says, yeah, there's this girl in my group. This is her name. I'm like, wait a second. She was in my group at school. So because I knew that she was going and I was dating Sam at the time, I said to Sam, I've been invited on this trip. Our friend that used to go to school with us is going on the trip. Do you want to come? And he said, I can't afford to, because Sam at the time didn't have a job. And we were 17. So we're still, no, we're out of school now. We must have been older than that. Maybe we were 18. Anyway, yeah, because I think we were in uni and trying to make money, but Sam hadn't started working yet because he was doing uni full time, so he wasn't working. And I was doing uni part-time so that I could work. Hey, anyone else take like 4 times as long as they should have to finish their degree because they could only do 1 or 2 subjects a semester because that's all their brain could handle? So yeah, Sam was full-time, I was part-time. So I said that I wanted to go on this trip, but only if Sam would come with me. Sam said he wanted to go on the trip, but he couldn't afford to. I said to Sam, let's get you a job. He was like, yeah, good idea. I'll get a job. Sam has ADHD, as I told you guys the other day. Sam was like, yeah, I'll get a job. So I was like, all right, Sam, I'll write you a resume. So I wrote Sam a resume. I said, take this. And so Sam had some work experience from when we were in high school. He'd done some work experience in cafes. And so I wrote his resume and I said, his work experience. And I said, now take this and take it to places. And he's like, yeah. Didn't take his resume anywhere. So then I was like, fine, I'll take your resume. So then my mum and I went to this cafe that we'd been going to since I was a child. Literally, apparently it's the first cafe that my parents took me to the day that I was born, and they brought me home from the hospital. Then the first time that mum wanted to take me out in public, where they went to this cafe with me, and mum and dad had been going to this cafe for 10 years. So the owners were so excited to meet me, and it was the same owners all along. So I used to go there with my mum a lot. So mum and I went and we said to the manager, hey, do you have any availability for work? And she was like, oh, are you looking for a job, sweetheart? And I said, no, not me, my boyfriend. And she said, oh, well, tell him to bring in his resume. And I went, here's something I prepared earlier. And I handed the resume and she looked at it and she's like, okay, so he did some work experience as a barista in school. So he hasn't had any other work. And we said no, and my mum said, oh, but he's wonderful. Sam is such a gentleman. He's very polite. He's very well-spoken. He's a very studious and hardworking young man, and you would really, really like him, and it would be great if you gave him an opportunity. So she said, all right, well, send him in, and you guys know Sam. It's hard to not like Sam. Sam went in, he talked to this lady for literally 2 minutes, and she handed him an apron, and she was like, can you start now? So Sam was working there, and we saved up to go to Japan, and we went to Japan with that girl's friends, and I met Daniel. I was with Sam, and we arrived, we flew to Sapporo. Sorry, I have this habit of, it's Sapporo, but because studying Japanese, I always think of it as, like, it's Sapporo. So I'm not trying to be like a weeb or anything, but it's just feels weird for me to know what it's supposed to be said like, but then to purposefully say it with an Australian accent to make it easier for people to understand.
Yeah, it's like your mum. Your mum's just like, you'll say where you're going and she'll just correct you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
you're going to Tokyo. And she's like, it's Tokyo.
Yeah, we're going to Tokyo. Tokyo. Tokyo.
Tokyo ni ikimasu. So in Sapporo, which is the furthest island up north, where it's like freezing, that's where there's really, really good snow. So that's where this group of people were going skiing. So we flew up there and we got in a little bus and it drove us to Niseko, which is the snowfields that that girl and her boyfriend had chosen. And we got off the bus and all of those people were there waiting for us. And Dan was one of those people. And I looked at him and I was like, wow, look at that guy with red hair. And I was dating Sam at the time. So, we got to know Dan. And come the end of that trip, Dan and Sam had made good friends, like they drunk sake together and stuff like that. I hadn't really talked to Daniel very much because like the boys were kind of hanging out together and the girls were hanging out together. But anyway, then when we got back from that trip to Japan, we kept hanging out with those people. And I was not a person to spontaneously go somewhere and meet new people. And if Sam hadn't come, I wouldn't have gone because there's no way in hell I would have gone on my own by myself to go on a holiday with a group of strangers. Even though one of them was a friend of mine from high school before she left my school, she was only joining us for the second half of it. She was only coming for 5 days or something to Tokyo. And so she wasn't there for the skiing part, and I knew that. So if it had just been I had to fly with these strangers and ski, I wouldn't have gone. No. But because Sam's... Oh, have you got the photo?
I've got one photo.
Yay!
This is you guys.
Oh, no, have you got the one of you and Sam?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay. Here we go. This is Sam and I. Is that the night we arrived?
Yep.
So this is the night we arrived. There's Sam and I sitting. I'm using the laptop and actually this is...
What are you eating, Alex?
Hang on, no, see this?
Why did I take the photo?
I don't know, but see this rubber band? Sam's laptop screen had a faulty connection and he couldn't afford to get it fixed, but he realised that if he put a rubber band from the screen down to the keyboard, it applied enough tension in the right spot that the issue with the screen was corrected. But what am I eating? Why did you take this photo? Ice cream?
No.
What? There's nothing else in this photo.
Everyone was having like desserts and stuff like that, and Alex was casually having a fried squid snack.
But it's not even in this photo.
What, like I could smell it.
Apparently there's fried squid.
It's just like, yes, you're like, delectable, like
hairy
squid.
It's not fried, it's air dried.
Air dried squid.
It's squid jerky. And in Japan they make squid.
I was like, who the fuck are these people? This bloke is just non-stop eating
he was eating gyoza.
Gyoza.
Yeah.
He survived on the fucking stuff.
So Sam didn't have a huge amount of money for our Japan trip, so he would go to 7-Eleven and get a tray of gyoza, like frozen gyoza, and it would have 20 of them in it, and it would be $2 or something. So every day, while everyone else was like, we're going to eat at a restaurant or we're going to get sushi or something, Sam's like, I'm just going to have gyoza. And so Dan was like, these people are so weird. That girl is munching on dried squid and it stinks. And he's just eating dumplings every day. But yeah, we became friends and then came back to Australia. And because we'd gotten on with these people so well, and because there was that mutual connection, this girl I knew from high school, Sam and I knew this girl from high school, and the girl that I'd met at the Japanese language course, and they were friends. So my old high school friend would have a party at her place and she would invite her school friends, including Daniel, and she'd invite me and I'd bring Sam, my boyfriend, and also she was still friends with a whole bunch of people from our high school. So we kind of ended up with people from my high school and people from Dan's high school coming together. And there was a huge amount of these people. And we used to hang out constantly. Someone would have a party at their house every single weekend. And we used to go on a Wednesday night and play trivia at like a pub. And there came a point where I was like, wow, I've got so many friends. But then, yeah, when you stop and you actually think, yeah, I meet up with these people and we're all in a space together, but everyone tends to, in a group setting, people tend to pair up, right? Like you go to a house party, there's 30 people there, you probably gravitate toward the same 2 people every single time. And when you get invited, if they're not on the invite list, you don't want to go. Or if they are invited, you're messaging them saying like, are you actually going to go? And they're like, yeah, okay, well, we'll go together and then we'll leave together. And it was like that with me. I had this small group being Sam, still from high school, even though by this point we'd broken up, we were still best friends. And maybe like 1 or 2 other people that were the ones that I would actually spend my time with. But, you know, you say hello to people, like you give everyone a hug when you see, back in the day when we used to hug people, you'd give them a hug and you'd say, how have you been? And you'd exchange a couple of words like, hey, how's uni? Yeah, good. How about you? Yeah, good. Cool. And then that's it. Like, that's your interaction. So I still had just had this very small, not even group. I just had a couple of my friends. So by this point, I have left the cafe that Sam and I, did I even tell you? No, I didn't say this. I got a job at the cafe that Sam was working at. I got Sam the job first. I was working at a different cafe as a barista, and Sam was telling me how good it was to work at that cafe. So I applied and they accepted me straight away. So I quit the bad cafe that had the racist owner that didn't like, birds. And then I started working at Sam's cafe, and that's how we met Grace. Grace was a waitress at this cafe, and there were two girls that were our age. Everyone else that worked there was a lot older than us. So we were the only people that were in our 20s. All the other staff were like in their 50s. So there was Grace and a girl, I'll call her Sarah. And Sam and I didn't tell anyone that we broke up because we thought if anyone knows, they're going to think it's weird that we're working together. So they're going to put us on different shifts. And Sam and I were still living together because Sam had moved in with me while we were dating. And when we broke up, the day that I broke up with him, he was like, so would you like me to pack up my stuff? And I was like, well, your parents turned your old bedroom into a study. So, I mean, you can't really just go home right now. So stay as long as you need to. And so Sam used to sleep on a sofa bed and I slept just in my bed. And Sam stayed living with me for a good couple of months until his parents, made a new office so that they could take Sam's old bedroom back. And so we would still drive to work with each other in the morning and drive home with each other in the evening. And we just didn't tell anyone we'd broken up. And someone threw a house party, a Christmas party for work. And Grace was there and this girl Sarah was there. I can't remember what was said, but Grace leans over to me and says, you're really lucky that you're dating Sam. Like, he's such a nice guy, such a gentleman. Like, there's not many guys like Sam. And I said, oh, we're not dating anymore. And she was like, what? And I said, yeah, we broke up, 6 months ago. And she was like, what? And I said, yep, he's fully available if you're interested. And she was like, no, I'm not interested. And this other girl, Sarah, she also heard that Sam was single. And then both girls started talking a lot more to Sam, because they weren't talking to him that much because they thought we were dating and they didn't want to make me upset or anything. So they started talking to Sam a bit more. And I said to Sam, I think they both like you. And he was like, no, they don't. And I was like, I'm certain that they both have a thing for you. And he said, well, I don't know what to do. Because Sam, he dated me for 3 years or whatever it was. And he had no idea how to engage in another, there's a lot of people that are like, I like someone, but I have absolutely no idea how to talk to them or anything. So I said to him, okay, you should try to take both girls out for coffee, because when you're in a work setting versus when you're in a different setting, one-on-one, it's completely different. And he's like, I can't just go up and ask if someone wants to go out for coffee with me. And I said, well, think of an excuse. If you feel too awkward to just say, hey, do you want to grab coffee? Think of some reason. So there was a birthday coming up. One of the managers, it was her birthday coming up. And both Grace and Sarah had worked there for several years before we came along. So I said, why don't you ask the girls individually after work, just say something like, oh, hey, I've got to find a present for the manager. Could you give me a hand? So he did that. He did that with Sarah first, and he just said to her, hey, our manager better than I do. When we finish work, can you come with me to the shop over there and help me pick something for her? And she was like, yeah. She was like, yay, I get to spend one-on-one time with Sam. And they walked around and they just looked at things, but they didn't buy anything. And then he said, do you want to grab a coffee? Because they were already in the shopping center walking around. And she said yes. So they went to this cafe and they chatted. And then he came back and I said, so how was it? He was like, Not what I expected. It was kind of, the conversation was kind of stiff, and she, we didn't vibe very well. So like when you go from working with someone and you're only spending, short amounts of time with them in a work setting, to when you're sitting down and you're actually just one-on-one trying to have a conversation, they found it quite difficult to have a conversation. So then a week later, he did the same thing with Grace. He said to Grace, I still haven't bought a present yet for the manager. Could you give me a hand? And she said yes. And apparently they walked through the shops, and like from the second that they started walking through the shopping center and looking at things, they were laughing and they were joking and they were pointing at things like, oh, that'd be a good gift, and like having a laugh about gifts and stuff. And then I think Grace may have even been the one to say like, oh, I'm hungry, do you want to grab something to eat? And then they sat down and they just did not stop talking the whole time. So Sam came home that afternoon back to my place, because he's still living with me at this point. And I said, so how was it with Grace? And he's like, she is so fucking funny. Like, because at work, we never really had an opportunity to properly get each other's personalities. And he's like, she's hilarious. Like, we got on so well, I can't believe it. And I said, well, you should keep asking her to do things. So he just every so often kept asking her, hey, you want to go grab something to eat after work or whatever? And very quickly they started dating. And Grace and I, we knew each other at the cafe, but I never spent any one-on-one time with her. Then I moved to a different cafe. I got transferred to be the head barista at another branch of the cafe that we were working at. And I moved to that job. And that's where I met that girl that I told you a little bit earlier. I said I'd met a girl at work and we stayed in touch. So I got transferred to this new place, and I was head barista there, and then we hired her and I got to, train her and stuff like that. But, and Sam stayed at the cafe with Grace, and they started dating, and they were officially boyfriend and girlfriend. So then I had helped Sam get together with Grace, and Sam helped me get together with Dan, because, Sam and I had broken up, and a couple of months after our breakup, I had always had an interest in Dan, but Dan's a very quiet sort of guy, and he never, I knew I wanted to get to know him, and I tried the same trick. It's the present trick, guys. I'm telling you, if you want to get to know someone, it's the birthday present trick. Patented by Pretty Pastel, please. It's actually the birthday present trick TM. I'm going to trademark it. Because one of the people from the Japan trip, the mutual group of friends, one of them was having a birthday coming up. And I knew I wanted to get to know Daniel better, because he was just this sweet, nice red-headed guy, and I thought he was just really lovely and gentle. And we went to a house party one night, and everyone got super drunk, but Dan was responsible, and he didn't get absolutely sloppy. And in the morning, he drove me home. He drove a few people home, and I was sitting in the front seat of Dan's car, and I'd never been just kind of like one-on-one with Dan. It was always just he was one of the people at the party that you'd say hello to, kind of thing, and that was it. And there were 3 people in the back seat. I was in the front seat. Those 3 people all fell asleep because they were super, super drunk, hungover. And I was sitting in the front seat vomiting into a plastic bag because I was so hungover. And Dan and I were having a conversation, and he's telling me about, he was at uni doing engineering, and he was doing an internship with this company. And I'm like, wow, yeah, blah, tell me more. I was really interested. Blah. And he didn't judge me. He didn't frown. He didn't be like, ew, gross, get out of my car. He just kept reaching down and handing me new bags to... And we dropped everyone off because everyone lived, it was like the people in the back dropped off first, and I was the last person to get dropped off. And in that car ride, in that moment, I said, I'm going to marry this man. I shit you not. I'm not lying. I'm vomiting into a bag, and I'm looking at this man, and he's driving a 4-wheel drive, and he had his license. He was the only person, or one of the only people with their license. And I was like, wow, he's studying to be an engineer. He drives. He didn't judge me because I got drunk, and he didn't kick me out of his car when I was throwing up. He just like really politely kept handing me new plastic bags, and like, he's just so kind, and he's so lovely, and he speaks so softly, and he's so gentle, and he's got red hair. And I literally fell in love with Daniel, like, in that moment. Meanwhile, Dan had quite literally no idea. And so then someone was having a birthday coming up, so I said to Daniel, I messaged him specifically, and I said, hey, it's Jake's birthday. Could I meet you at this shopping center, and could you help me pick a gift for him? Because he's your friend from school. I don't really know him very well, but he's invited me to his birthday party. Can you help me pick a gift for him? And Dan's like, why is this girl asking me? Like, I literally gave her a lift once and now she wants to go shopping with me. But he met up with me, and we went and found Jake a gift from EB Games. What's the American equivalent? The one that all the stonk thing happened with? GameStop. The same sort of thing. We went and we got him a Zelda-themed present because he loves Zelda. And then we had lunch, because we've come all the way to the shops. So I said, well, let's get a bite to eat. And then I'm a psycho. Like, I sat there at this meal with Dan. I'm like, so, Daniel, like, we went to Japan together. So obviously you like Japan. Like, do you like traveling? Have you traveled anywhere before? And he told me about traveling. And I said, all right, well, so you're doing engineering, right? So you want to be an engineer? And told me about his plans for the future. And, do you want to have kids? Oh, you do want to have kids. Oh, And I was just, do you like animals? Oh, you have a dog. I really like animals too. How do you feel about birds? Oh, you don't really like birds? Waiter, check, please. No, I sussed him out so hard, and I kept coming up with excuses to see him. I'd be like, oh, Game of Thrones, you have it on DVD. Can I come watch it at your house? And, forced my way into his house to watch Game of Thrones, met his mum and dad. I liked his parents. And I was like, this is it. This is the man. I want to marry this man. And meanwhile, he's giving me nothing in return. Absolutely nothing. And I'm like, he doesn't like me. This is a waste of time. Daniel doesn't like me. And then we're at a house party hosted by Sam and my high school friend that moved to Dan's school. So she's having a party. Dan's at the party. Sam and I are at the party. Sam, the best wingman in the world, goes up to Dan and initiates a conversation with Dan about me. Like, so what do you think about Alex? Sam susses out that Dan does indeed have a crush on me, which was news to me because I was like, this guy is not interested in the slightest. He is giving me nothing. And then Sam encouraged Dan to ask me out. And then Dan asked me out that night at that party at that girl's house. And that was on August 31st, was it 13 or 14? I can't remember. Yes, I'm asking you. Sorry. Was it 2013 or 14? I'm sorry, I can never, 13's my favorite number, so I always get confused. It was, oh, Dan has a selfie that we took together that night.
Do I?
You do, is that what you're opening?
What year was it, Alex?
It's either 2013 or 2014. I can't remember. I think it's 2013, but that would mean we've been together for 9 years, which we have. So it was 2013. Anyway, so that was August 31st, 2014. Was it 14? Damn it! 2014. And then we got married on August 31st, 2019. Anyway, so at this point, right, I've got this group of friends, which are people from 2 high schools that know each other, but I'm actually only close with Sam, my ex-boyfriend. Sam is dating Grace. I'm dating Dan because Sam helped Dan and I to get together. We used to go on double dates with Sam and Grace. I didn't really get to know Grace while Sam and her were dating. They broke up, and then they didn't speak for a little while after their breakup, just because Sam was happy to talk to Grace, but obviously it's not easy for everyone to have a breakup and just stay friends. Grace and Sam, I think that they broke up mutually, I can't remember, but they'd been together for a year or two, and when they broke up, Grace was just like, I need some me time. So they didn't see each other for a long time. And by this point, Sam had found a new girlfriend, was dating this new girlfriend, who was, it's not that he found her, she was someone that we went to high school with, that was in our group, that we randomly encountered again because of Caitlin and Yinny. Caitlin and Yinny and that girl were friends. And they stayed friends after school ended. And Caitlin and I rekindled our friendship after high school because I can't remember. Caitlin was studying graphics design and photography, and she contacted me on Facebook one day and asked me to be a model for her because she had to do for an assignment, she had to make a magazine. So it was like graphics design, but you also had to take the photos. So she asked me because she knew that when I was like 16 to 20, I really wanted to be a model. And I used to go to like auditions, casting calls and everything. And I was plus size back then, and I kept getting rejected. And but my mum used to take me out on photo shoots to try to build a portfolio, and I used to put them on Facebook. So Caitlin was like, oh, Alex, you're into modeling. Can I get you to do modeling for my project? So then we sparked up our friendship again at that point. So Caitlin was still friends with Yinny and this other girl. And then because I started hanging out with Caitlin again, Sam ended up seeing this girl from high school who he had not spoken to since like 2008 or something. And they hit it off and they started dating, and he moved in with her. And then when they broke up, Dan and I were living together at my parents' house. And when they broke up, she kicked him out and put all his stuff out on the street. And Dan and I went and picked Sam up, and we brought all of his things to my place. And it was exactly the same scenario where when Sam left home again, his parents reclaimed his bedroom. So once again, he couldn't just go back home. He had to, so my parents said, oh, that's all right. Like, Sam can just stay here for as long as he wants to. And my mum prepared the guest bedroom and everything and said, well, Sam, you're welcome to just live here with us. That's fine. Because my mum and dad love Sam. And then we were all sitting around together that night, and we were like, well, think of it this way. Dan and I, we're living with my parents. Sam, you're thinking of going back home and living with your parents. We're 22 at this point, or 23, and we all have jobs. And we were like, why don't we move out? And we went online and we looked up apartments, and there was places showing open homes that weekend. And this was like a Friday. So we were like, wait, we could go tomorrow and look at these apartments. And Dan, being an engineer and being a master of Excel spreadsheets, took all of our incomes, Sam's income from the cafe, my income as the head barista at this other cafe, Dan's income, because when you do an engineering internship, you get paid. Not like when you do a media internship. So we had all of our incomes combined, and Dan worked out how much we'd be allowed to spend and then still be able to pay for life things, be able to afford internet, phone bills, social activities, things like that. And he said, okay, well, we'll just have to search within this budget. So that weekend we went and looked at apartments that were within that budget. So we had to move a fair bit further out to be able to afford to move out together. But we found it was this brand new apartment building. Anyone that's in Sydney knows this wild development that's been happening everywhere. They took Sydney, and you know that song, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They paved Sydney and put up 10,000 apartment buildings. and there's not enough people to fill them. So the apartments became really cheap. So there was this brand new apartment complex that had 6 buildings, and it had, I don't know, thousands of apartments, and only a couple of hundred of them actually had people living in them. They were giving these apartments away like, you know, like hotcakes. They were just like, please, how much are you willing to pay per week in rent? Okay, please take it. We built too many apartments. So we applied, and we didn't think that we'd get accepted because we'd never lived out of home and we didn't have credit scores or anything to show that we could actually afford rent. We just had our pay slips from our jobs. And they were like, yep, accepted. We applied and he just accepted it. And he just gave us the keys because they were brand new empty apartment buildings. So it went from Sam living with his old girlfriend to spending 2 nights at my parents' house to the 3 of us moving out and living together. So then Grace contacted Sam again, a year down the track or whatever it was, after, you know, Grace and Sam had broken up. Sam had an entire new relationship. Then that had broken up, and then Grace contacted Sam and said, how have you been? You know, we haven't spoken in a long time. And Sam said, yeah, good. I actually moved out with Alex and Dan. And Grace was like, oh my God, you know, because Grace really liked us, but we'd never spent time with her. And she said, you live with them? Like, can I come over and see your place? And he said, sure. So she turned up one afternoon after work, and we all sat down at the dining table and we played Catan, and we had a great chat, and she was there all night. And from that day, it became a regular thing. Every Wednesday on Grace's way home from work, she would drop into our apartment. And Sam got a new girlfriend, someone that he met on Tinder, Beck. Beck, I don't know if you're watching this, but if you're watching this, hello. We need to follow through on the messages that we've been sending each other. After Beck and Sam broke up, we all stayed friends again. And this is why I say I'm not very good at meeting people, and Sam's not very good at meeting people. Grace isn't great at meeting people, but the people that those friends of yours do meet, because they get on with your friend, you're most likely going to get on with them too. Not in every situation. I'm sure that we all have a friend who's got a friend that we don't like, but a lot of the time, you know, so when Sam started dating Beck, we just fell in love with her, and their relationship ended, but we all stayed in touch. And Beck is now engaged. Congratulations. We made a friend through Beck. Grace is living with Shelley, who some of you guys know who Shelley is. Shelley hasn't been in many videos because Shelley, the hours that Shelley works makes it like impossible to get her around here. But Grace and Shelley went to school together. So Shelley and Grace moved out together. So then it became not just Grace coming by and hanging out with us, but then Grace saying, oh, is it okay if I bring my housemate? And then we got on really well with Shelley. So Shelley became a really good friend. Then we've got Alex and Beck, who, now how do we meet Alex and Beck? University. When I was at university, there was a bar that people used to go to at lunchtime. And Jaden, who you guys know, Jaden was doing software engineering, and he met Alex in his software engineering class, and they went to the bar together on their lunch break. We all went up to the bar to see Jaden, and then Jaden said, this is my friend Alex from my university class. And Alex, he's one of us. He's big nerd. I would say Alex is the alpha nerd. He knows everything there is to know about every single anything. You can talk about D&D, you can talk about Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC. He knows everything. His brain is like a encyclopedia of knowledge. And Jaden and Alex were good friends, and because we all loved Jaden from high school, we became friends with Alex. And then because the girl that was at my high school that went to Dan's high school used to have parties, and she invited us to her place. We invited Alex along because we all went to the same uni. Alex brought his girlfriend Beck, and we became really good friends with them. Alex started a D&D group that Sam and I and Dan used to play in. And Jake was from Dan's high school, and he was the one who I bought the Zelda birthday present for. He was just one of these people that came on the Japan trip. Jake also played D&D, and Jake started dating Michelle, her name is. You guys, I'm pretty sure Michelle's popped up in videos in the past. They've been together for as long as Dan and I have, and Michelle and I get on...
Sorry.
Longer.
Way longer.
Longer.
Yeah.
So Jake met Michelle because Michelle didn't go to their school. Michelle went to another school, and it was like someone from their high school knew some girls from another school, and at a house party, Jake met Michelle. So then Jake plays D&D. We met Michelle. Michelle and I hit it off really well. So we've got Alex and Beck, Jake and Michelle, Grace and Shelley. So these are all people now that I've met through other people. Obviously Sam, my high school friend, Jaden's fiance Mel, who he met at university, who we get on really well with. We've got Ben. Ben is someone from Dan's high school. He didn't come to the Japan trip with us, but he was one of the people that was always at the house parties and everything, and he started playing D&D as well. So he's also become a good friend. Miffy, our friend Miffy, who is also from the D&D group and from Dan's high school. And when Dan and I started dating, I became friends with some of Dan's closest friends from high school. And we've got a friend called Matt, who you guys would have met in the dog video. He was the one that had the really old toy poodle, the white toy poodle. Matt was with the girl that studied Japanese. Matt was her boyfriend. So when she, right back all these years ago, when she booked this trip to Japan with her boyfriend and her friends from school, the trip that I met Dan on, Matt was her boyfriend at the time. So he also became our friend. And Tiasha, I met Tiasha when I was in primary school, and that was completely accidental. Like I was at this school and I had one friend, and that one friend said to me, a girl in my class lives on your street. And I was like, what? Because the school that I was going to was, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't believe that this girl lived in my street and I'd never met her. I thought I knew all the kids in my street because, we'd go up and ride our bikes in the cul-de-sac or whatever, and I'd never seen her before. And so my friend took me over to her in the playground and said, oh, Tiasha, this is Alex. You guys live on the same street. And Tiasha is Tiasha. So she was like, hey, how's it going? And she was like, straight off the bat, just the nicest. Oh my God, I was obsessed with her. I went from having no friends at this all-girls school, aside from I had one single friend. And then Tiasha and I, we hit it off like a house on fire. And then because we knew that we lived in the same street, we started to hang out together. And we very quickly became really, really, really good friends. And then Tiasha, then I left that school because of bullying. I got beaten up really badly in the playground and all sorts of things happened. And so I left. But Tiasha and I obviously still lived on the same street together. So I was at my new school. And then Tiasha went to India for... she had to go there for a really long time. I can't remember why, but she was gone for 6 months or something. Tiasha and I, stayed as friends. We lived in the same street and used to hang out all the time in the park. And Tiasha, okay, sometimes I say things and I think it's okay, but then people tell me you should edit that out because people might think that it's racist. But I'm not going to edit this out. I'm going to ask if anyone is Indian. Do your parents, your father in particular, were they very strict with you growing up with who you were allowed to spend your time with? Because Tiasha and I went for many years hanging out, and then I used to go to this thing called youth group, like a Christian youth group. And one night Tiasha's dad was away and her mum was always much more lenient than her dad. And so she said to her mum, I invited her to come to youth group with me, because youth group, yes, it was Christian, but we played basketball and we had a lot of fun. It wasn't all, singing hymns and stuff. So I said to Tiasha, do you want to come to youth with me tonight? And she said, yeah, sure. Like, what happens at youth group? And I said, oh, mostly just basketball. Like, sometimes we play laser tag or something, I don't know. So she said, Mum, can I go with Alex to her youth group? And her mum was like, yes, of course. And then my dad drove us there, and Dad brought us home back to my place afterwards. And this is at 9 o'clock at night. And we didn't have mobile phones, I don't think. Well, it wasn't like mobile phones these days. The kids these days all have an iPhone. They grew up sucking on it instead of a pacifier. But we had...
Jesus.
It's
Sounds
true.
so old.
I am an old soul. We had flip phones and bad reception, and we didn't have instant messenger and things like that. It was just kind of harder to get in touch with people.
No, we had no credit.
We had no credit. That's right. So Tiasha's dad apparently came home and said to her mum, where's Tiasha? And she said she's gone out with Alex. And he said, where? And she said, to youth group. And he said, what's that? And she said, I don't know, or whatever. And he immediately, he hit the roof and he came to our place, but Dad was picking us up. So there was no one home. So he waited on our driveway, and we pulled into the driveway, and he stepped in front of the car and he started screaming at my dad, what have you done with my daughter? Where did you take her? And Dad's like, I just picked them up. And he was so angry. And he said to Tiasha, where have you been? What have you been doing? Have you been doing drugs? Have you been with boys? And like I said, this is why I ask, like, oh, if you have an Indian background, was this your experience? Because this was Tiasha's experience. Her very strict Indian father hit the roof because she went out without his permission, and he forbade her from seeing me again. And this was in 2007. Even though Tiasha and I lived a couple of houses apart, we did not see each other. And I mean, we did not visually see each other until 2012. That's how strict her dad was about not seeing me again. And like, she tried to explain to him what youth group was. She's like, we literally just went and we played basketball, and he didn't believe her. He didn't believe that there was such a activity that happened at night with boys and girls that was wholesome. He thought she was lying. He's like, no, you've gone out and you've been with boys and you've drunk alcohol or something, or you've smoked a cigarette or like whatever. And her mum begged for years, like, please let Alex and Tiasha spend time together again. Like they were such good friends. And he said no, he would not let her. And he held this grudge until literally Tiasha and I had not seen each other. We used to message each other, but we hadn't seen each other. And then I'm at uni and I walk into a lecture and I sit down, and I was very shy at uni, and I didn't want to make friends at uni, and I didn't like to make friends at uni. So I used to just walk into my lecture and just keep my eyes to myself, and then just sit down and I just look at the front, and then I'd look at my table and I'd look at the front, but I would never look at the people on the side of me, because I'm just not very good with meeting new people.
Lucky, stop sneezing.
Anyway, I like glanced over to my right in this lecture just to see, who was sitting next to me. And I see their hand, and they're wearing a ring. And I'm like, and I look, and it's Tiasha. And I just sit there, just looking. And she's just minding her own business. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep staring until she looks at me. And then it took a few minutes. And then eventually she goes, oh my God! And then the lecture started. So we had to be quiet. And we go, oh my God, what are you doing here? What the fuck? I didn't know you were at this uni. Oh my God, what degree are you doing? We're doing the same degree? What? Oh my God. And then by this point, she's 18 and her dad can't tell her who she's allowed to hang out with anymore. So then we just our friendship properly starts all over again. So Tiasha, when she she went to a different school in high school. She made a new group of friends, and she met Millie. So Millie was Tiasha's best friend from high school. And then Tiasha said to me, "You've got to meet my best friend. You know, you guys will get on really well." And then Tiasha and I interned at the same place, and Millie was working nearby, so we used to get the bus together. And Millie also loved Japan, like massive obsession with Japan and pastel colored clothes and things like that. So Millie became my friend. So it's kind of like the group of friends that I have is, well, hang on, let me pull open this picture, because I took this photo after we planted the garden at my birthday party, and you can just see. And the whole reason that I'm saying all of this is because someone left a comment asking, "Alex, how do you make friends? You have so many friends. How did you make all of these friends?" And basically, if we look at it like this, we've got Ben went to school with Dan. Jake went to school with Dan. Jake met Michelle at a house party, and they're together. I get on really, really well with Michelle. Sam, obviously I met him in school. Millie, Tiasha met her in school. Dan, I met him because of a mutual friend. Shelley is Grace's best friend from school, and Sam and I met Grace at the cafe. Tiasha and I were together at school for a little bit, and Caitlin and Sam and I went to the same school, and Michelle is one of my subscribers. And Michelle and Sam are dating now. And Michelle, our friendship started because I met her. It's so cute. She, years back, who remembers that Instagram story where I said, "Sam needs a girlfriend, apply here." And then as a joke, you know, we did this like little mini Sam as the Bachelor kind of thing. Michelle had been following me on Instagram, and she replied to that Instagram story on New Year's Eve 2018, I think it was, or 2019. And she said that she's like, "I'd like to apply to be Sam's girlfriend. My name's Michelle, and I play D&D, and I like Lord of the Rings, and, you know, this, that, and the other, whatever." And Sam, I showed Sam her profile, and Sam was a little bit, he was like, she has face piercings, like she has snake bites. And he was like, he literally thought that it would be weird, like uncomfortable or weird to date someone if they've got piercings on their mouth, because like, how do you kiss them? or something like that. And anyway, then I hosted this charity event in January 2020, and Michelle came to the charity event, and her and I and Tiasha, we hit it off. We've got this great photo of the three of us, and we just chatted for ages, and I really liked her. And then as part of Thriftmas, I wanted to take one of my subscribers out on a shopping spree, and she was the first person I thought of, because the day that I'd met her at the charity event, she was just one of those people, you know, if you've been lucky enough to meet a friend, you've met them, and from the second that you started talking, you knew that this is one of your people, you know? So my mind instantly went to her. And also she dresses in an alternative kind of way, so I thought it could make for an interesting video to have a completely different sense of style in the video. And again, like from the moment that I picked Michelle up in my car and I drove us to the Salvation Army and we went to IKEA and all this stuff, and then I went to drop her home and she invited me in, and I met Cedric and Hazel, her dogs, and I fell in love with them. And my first thought was, Sam would love this girl. Sam really likes chihuahuas. It's like the most random thing. When Sam and I were dating, we house sat for one of my friends, and her sister-in-law had a chihuahua. So we were looking after the chihuahua, and Sam always wanted an Australian sheepdog or a kelpie or something like that. He'd never wanted a tiny dog, but Muffin, this tiny little chihuahua, won Sam's heart while we were babysitting it. And he was like, "I love chihuahuas." And anyway, so Michelle, when I went to her place and she invited me in, and there were things all over the place. She was in a share house, and there was like D&D stuff. There was Lord of the Rings and Star Wars things everywhere. And she had posters of Middle Earth. And I was like, this girl is just like we are. And all I could think was how much Sam would like her. And then I saw her chihuahua, and I was like, Sam loves chihuahuas. Sam would get on with her so well. She had sent me a message all those years ago about, applying to be Sam's girlfriend as a joke. And so I was like, I'm going to introduce Sam to this girl. And I never did, because by that point, Sam had met someone online that he was talking to and was possibly going to date. And I'd said to him, I really want you to meet this subscriber of mine. She's lovely. And he was like, oh, I'm actually already, like, I'm talking to someone already. And so that was the last of that. I never pushed it. And then we had this huge lockdown, and I didn't see Sam for 4 months or 6 months or whatever it was. And then it was going to be I think the first time that we saw each other. No, it was my birthday, and we were still in lockdown. And for my birthday, we just wanted to have a Skype call with Sam, and we wanted to play 500. Does anyone know the card game 500? Sam and Dan and I and Sam's dad, we really like to play 500 together. And so for my birthday, we were just going to have a video chat and play 500 online. And Sam says, can you just give us a bit of time? I don't think Michelle knows how to play 500. And I was like, what? Like I knew her as Thirsty Succubus, which is her Instagram handle. I didn't know that. I knew that her name was Michelle, but I didn't know that they were speaking. I had absolutely no idea. And I think Sam had said that to Dan in a message. He'd said to Dan, can you tell Alex that we're going to be late because I'm teaching Michelle how to play 500 or something? And then he said, Alex will know who I'm talking about. And Dan was like, does this make any sense to you? And I was like, Michelle. And I thought about the Michelle, Jake's girlfriend, Michelle. I was like, what? Why is Sam hanging out with Michelle? Like, does he have Jake and Michelle over? No, he can't. It's lockdown. He's not allowed to have any friends over. Michelle. And then I was like, no. And then I said to Dan, can you reply thirsty with a question mark? Because he'll know what that means. And then he replied, very thirsty. And I was like, oh my God. And then, so it turned out that in lockdown, Michelle and Sam had followed each other on Instagram after my charity event. I think that they may have spoken for like 5 minutes at the charity event. And Michelle uploaded a photo to her Instagram that day after the event. And she said, oh, it was really nice to meet Pretty Pastel, please, and Suit Up Sam and the Marshmallow Girls. And so I think Sam had followed her. And Michelle put on her Instagram story one day a video game that she was playing. Do you remember the name of it, Dan? Subnautica. Is that right? Subnautica? So she'd put on her Instagram story something about Subnautica, and Sam had been playing Subnautica throughout the whole of lockdown, but he didn't know anyone else that played it. And he saw on Michelle's Instagram story that game, and he replied to her, and he was like, oh my gosh, I think it was like the first message that he'd ever sent to her was, I don't know anyone else that plays Subnautica, like that's so cool that you play it. And then they started talking about it. And they just talked organically online about video games and stuff for several months. And then, like, literally, I think that part of the reason that Sam and Michelle, I think that they're such a good couple is because they became friends first. Sam and Michelle, they talked for months and months and months on Instagram stories and replying to each other's Instagram messages and stuff like that. And then our government announced that we were allowed to nominate one person to come to our house or something like that. For people, our lockdown went on for so long that they realized anyone that's alone is struggling so hard with mental health. So they said that you could have someone come over. And Sam and Michelle, they had agreed to hang out because it was like, oh, we could you know, do you want to come over and like we could play this game or whatever it was. Michelle brought her 2 dogs and she went over to Sam's place and she had dinner with Sam and his parents and they played video games, and she stayed overnight, I think, and she stayed for like 2 weeks. And they didn't tell me. And I know why Sam didn't tell me, because he didn't want one of these I told you so moments, because when I had met her and hung out with her and I said to him, I think that you and her would be really good together, and he pursued this other person that he was talking to online, and I know he didn't want to. I told you so. I told you you guys would make a good couple. So he didn't tell me. He dated her they were together during lockdown for so many months, and until he told me, and then he told me by sending that message about teaching her how to play 500. And anyway, then you guys, if you watched my cider video, you would have seen that was when I saw Sam for the first time. We met up at Flower Power, and Michelle was there, and I cried and I hugged both of them, and Sam had a beard like down to here, and Michelle had Cedric and Hazel with her, and just like that day, then she came over here and we got on so well, and Michelle lives with us now. That was purely so Michelle's family moved away and they gave her very little notice, and she had to try to find a place that she could afford where she could have her dogs and a fish tank and all of her stuff that she'd had with her at her parents' house. And she was really, really stressing out over it, because anyone that's lived in a share house knows that it can be very difficult to, well, if you are nervous about living with strangers for a start, because she didn't have any friends that needed to move out or anything like that. So she would have to live with strangers, and she had very little notice. And I just said to her, look, we've got a spare room. Why don't you just, well, actually, originally she had hoped to go stay at Sam's place, but that's not my story to tell. Nothing with Sam or anything like that. It's more parents and stuff. But I said, yeah, we've got space. You can camp out here until you work out what you're going to do. So they're still deciding what they're going to do. They haven't worked out yet if they're going to rent their own place or what they're going to do. But I've really enjoyed having Michelle around, because Michelle, she also got diagnosed with ADD this year, and she's seeing a different psych to the one that I see, and she's done a huge amount of research on Reddit and stuff about the medication, and she's really helped me. She was the one that taught me this tip about eating protein when you take Dex or Vyvanse. It helps it to metabolize better. You don't feel the effects as quickly, but it lasts for longer and it's a more steady release. And also Michelle's been on other types of medication for many years, and she's helped me adjust my dose, and given me many tips about what time of the day and things like that. And also it's been really nice for me to have a girl around. Like Grace comes by once a week or so, or Caitlin used to come by once a week, but it's a different dynamic, when someone's in your house and they're comfortable there, and you might bump into each other in the kitchen, or if you're in your bedroom and you feel lonely and you can just go down and lie on their bed and have a chat. I'm an only child, and having Michelle around in the house has been like having a sister. Like sometimes we go days without even crossing each other's paths, because she does her own thing and she goes and stays at Sam's house a lot and stuff like that. But then other times I just find myself like hanging out in her bedroom for days on end, and we are the sort of people that instantly gravitated towards each other. And it's just funny how many of my friends, I won't say which ones without their permission, but so many of our friends have ADHD or other such mental health problems. And we all sort of found out when we were adults. None of us knew when we were younger, because we were all masking, I suppose, and we all gravitated towards each other. We were all outcasts, we were all bullied, we were all nerds and things like that. We all had special interests and everything, and we gravitated towards each other in school. And then those people gravitated towards their partners, and you fall in love with someone that is like you. Well, they say opposites attract, but you probably, bond over certain things, and you see common traits in other people, and you fall in love with those people, or those people become your friends. And not every friendship that I have is one that came easily. The friendship with Michelle, God, that just I would have literally, the amount of subscribers of mine that I've bumped into in the street, and we've had a chat for an hour and taken a selfie together, and then I've thought to myself, oh my God, that person, if I'd met that person in school, we would have been best friends. It happens all the time. And Michelle was one of those people where, I hung out with her for the video, and I remembered thinking, I love her so much. If we'd been friends in school, we would have been best friends or something. But I wasn't going to put myself out there and pursue a new friendship, because I'm not very good at pursuing new friendships. And yeah, not every friendship that I have came easily. Like Grace, for example. Grace and I, that came out of the fact that Grace would come over to see Sam every so often, just to stay friends after their breakup. But we really got on, and we actually put in the effort. I think it was Grace probably put in the effort. She sent a message and she said she was going to come by after work, but Sam wasn't there. And she still came by because she was like, oh, well, Sam doesn't have to be there for me to hang out with Alex and Dan. And we hung out with her, just the three of us, and it was so nice. And Tiasha and I, we don't see each other very often. She lives really far away. Her and Millie live so far away. But that is the sort of friendship where the second one of us messages the other and says we'd like to see each other, it happens. But also, if it doesn't happen, if someone's not feeling up to it, and they one of us can just be like, hey, really not feeling it today, we cancel, and it's totally fine. But sometimes you'll have friends where they cancel and it might hurt your feelings because you've been banking on seeing that person all week and they've just cancelled on you last second. So if you are close enough with someone that you understand, so for example, Grace and I will cancel on each other constantly. We'll be like, yep, Friday? Yeah, Friday. Friday comes, she messages me, she's like, too tired. I'm like, good, I'm too tired as well. Caitlin, on the other hand, Caitlin very much needs a lot of notice. She doesn't like things, she doesn't like the plan to change at the last minute. So I don't make plans with Caitlin if I don't think that I'll be able to see them through, because it would be really, really awful to come the day that I'm supposed to be seeing her and for me to be having a really bad mental health day and just not want to get out of bed. And she has literally spent the whole morning getting ready, and she's thought all week about how excited she is to do this thing. And then if I messaged her and said, hey, really not up to it, she would just be devastated. So you've got to kind of gauge your friends, and you've got to, I think it's really important to have friends for certain things. You don't have to have friends and treat them all exactly the same way. I think it's really important to understand your friends, understand who you can be a certain way with. And yeah, so Grace and I, Tiasha and I, we're people that we're more than happy to see each other, but if it doesn't happen, we're more than happy to stay in bed. Then you've got the friends that maybe they live a really busy life, so you don't see each other very often. But when you do see each other, you know that even though you haven't spoken in months, you will just pick up where you left off and you'll get on really, really well. You might have friends that are going through it themselves, and it's not that they're not contacting you because they don't want to hang out with you. They're probably, just like you are, they're probably sitting there thinking, gee, I wish someone would contact me. They don't want to contact anyone themselves. They don't have it in them. And they really hope that someone will contact them. And I've found that the more open you are with your friends about the way that you like your friendship to be, it's a weird conversation to have, but I have had that conversation with several friends and just said, hey, look, I don't know about you, but if I ever cancel, or if I make a plan and I cancel, it's not because I don't want to hang out, or it's not because, I'm not trying to be mean or something. Like, what are your expectations with plans? And then you'll have friends that'll be like, oh, well, I have a really busy schedule. So if I set aside a day that we're going to hang out, I have set aside a day, so please don't cancel on me. But you'll have friends that are like, God, I usually don't like going out. If I have it in me that day, I will, but I don't really want to go out, kind of thing. Or you have friends that are like, I really want to spend time with you, but I don't want to leave my house. And then maybe the other friend is exactly the same. It's just, see, this is like, friendships are like fine wine. You got to kind of sit on them for a while, and you've got to understand the notes, the flavor notes. And if you don't know the notes, if you look at the bottle of wine and it says, when you drink this, you'll detect notes of peppercorn and chestnut and citrus. If you just pick up that glass of wine and sniff it, you're like, this smells like wine. But if you read the side of the bottle and it tells you what to look for, then as you're drinking the wine, you can detect those flavors. Think of a friendship like wine. It's like, okay, it's a bottle of wine. It's a friend. But there's so many, layers to this. There's things that you should be keeping an eye out for. And some people, if they don't want to share, they don't say what their flavor notes are that you should be keeping an eye out for unless you ask them. So it's really important to find out from your friends, hey, what is your expectation when it comes to this? Or would you be okay if something like this happened? And that's what I've done basically with all my friends. I know what my friends' expectations are. We all know what to expect of each other, and no one gets upset because you don't make plans with the friend that really doesn't like to be cancelled on, unless you know for certain you're actually going to go and do that thing. And I'll just keep repeating myself if I don't stop. But all of that, for however long I've been talking for, was in response to one person's comment. So maybe what I should try to do is, I'd really like to do a Q&A, kind of like a girl talk, or just if you have anything that you'd like to ask me, advice about anything at all, maybe every day I should pick 3 comments and I should discuss them, and I should rein it in so that I don't spend an hour talking about one response. This is the thing with people like me, when you try to explain one topic but you jump around to so many other topics that you end up, it takes you an hour to say one simple response. But people have been telling me that they really like driving and listening to me talk, or they like doing the dishes while they listen to me talk. So that's why I've just been talking all morning. But anyway, there's my TED talk on how I made my group of friends. Didn't happen overnight. This is a friend group that's been slowly refined over years. And hey,
just simmering away.
Simmering away, my pot of friends.
Just boiling away.
And occasionally you add some new ingredients, like, oh, here's a little bit of Lucy, and here's a little bit of Michelle. Lucy and we met on Instagram, and that whole friendship only really happened because Lucy came down to Sydney for work and then messaged me and said, hey, I'm in Sydney. Would you like to meet in person for the first time? We hit it off like a house on fire. And then I said, hey, we should do this again sometime. And then she put herself out there, and she booked a flight 6 months later to come to Sydney to hang out with me and to hang out with Tiasha and Millie. And she was very brave, and Lucy's an extrovert. Lucy's incredible. She'll just talk to anyone. And she did that. She flew down here. She stayed with me, and she now does it every 6 months or so. She just comes and stays for a week, and we'll spend time together. And that's how that friendship happened. Lucy's an internet friend, and I guess you could call Michelle an internet friend too. So if you can't meet people in real life, you can meet people online. And I think I mentioned earlier, I thought maybe we could have a Discord or something, and maybe some of the people in this comment section below might find a friend. I reckon, I swear to you, the amount of people I've bumped into in the street, people have come up to me and they've said, Alex, I really like your videos, and we've had a chat. And I've walked away from that thinking, I want to be that person's friend. I swear, we gravitate towards each other. Birds of a feather flock together. And I feel like, you know, if you're struggling to find friends, there's a friend for you in my comments section. I promise you that. So if someone wants to help me out with this Discord thing, I cannot be trusted to set it up. Please, I can't handle the responsibility. Don't know how to use it.
You don't even look at my messages.
Your text. I don't even look at my own husband's text messages. Yeah, but
did you read that message? No. Oh.
Well, it's something that I'm working on. I'm working on reading messages and responding and stuff like that. And maybe if we set up a Discord, and then if you're someone that struggles to do something or struggles to take care of yourself and there's no one to hold you accountable, maybe you could go out and buy a plant or something, or if you've been thinking of getting a pet, or you just introduce us to the pet that you have and you can take a photo and tell us a story, and then we can check in, and then we'll be able to say, you know, like, hey, Chrissy, at Chrissy, did you do that thing you said you were going to do? And then,
Chrissy, wake up.
I don't like this.
Chrissy, wake up.
Hey, hello.
Brush your teeth.
Yeah, brush your teeth. Gotta brush your teeth. Gotta brush your teeth. Gotta brush your teeth now, Chrissy. I don't like this. Chrissy, wake up. Anyway, that's just something to think about. I was also even thinking of doing like the YouTube community. I think there's like a community, I don't know how it works, but like you can join YouTube communities, and then I could do like a live stream for the people that are part of that community. But I think that those things have paid memberships, so I don't want to make it like, oh, you've got to pay to be part of this support group. I just want it to be something that's free, so probably Discord. But anyway, I'm going to end this video by opening a parcel. So come downstairs with me, and you'll see a big bird that's very green and fluffy. Come with me, and you'll see my green bird that's very big and fluffy. Good morning. Good morning, Archie. Hello. Hi. Hello, big birdie. Okay, let's pick a parcel. We'll pick this one, and we'll let Archie out. Okay. Look, Archie. Parcel. We're gonna look at a parcel, Archie. Look. Ready? What's in here? Look, look. You're not even looking. Look. All right. We've got, thanks for your purchase with Salvo's Ellenbrook. Stay safe. Look, Archie. Want this? How about you hold this? No? Okay. I purchased a bra, apparently. 12 double D. This is not my size. This is not my, this is Berrily, brand new with tags. Which of my friends are 12 double D? Not me. No, mine are nowhere near that big. This is going to be like Cinderella with the glass slipper. I'm going to have to invite all the girls over, and they're all going to have to try this on, because I don't remember. I have a feeling that one of my friends maybe saw this on Salvo's and asked me to buy it. But I don't remember who it was. But yeah, Berrily is a really lovely brand. Look how nice these thick straps are. This is a really lovely bra. I feel like this would have been very expensive. But all right, well, that's a good place to end the video, because what I'm going to do is just upload this, and then we're going to have our day where we're doing planting and stuff like that. And I'll film all of that. I'll unbox another parcel, and I'll upload that tomorrow morning. So with that, thank you guys so much for listening. I really liked talking to you. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. And I would love it if you left comments below. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask me, if you have any idea about this whole Discord kind of situation, how we can have a group together that, you know, we can check in and talk to each other and send each other photos and things like that. If you've got any idea, because I've never been part of a Discord group or anything, so I really don't know how to do all of that. So I need your help. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you.